Shaq was just chilling outside a diner when he saw a cop yank a black woman out of her car, even though she was in full U.S. Army uniform. The officer smirked. "You can play dress up all you want. Now step out." But what he didn't know, Shaq was already filming, and the woman he just disrespected, a decorated Army colonel with direct ties to the Pentagon. Within hours, that footage would destroy his career and turn her into the face of a movement no one saw coming. Stay till the end, because this wasn't just a traffic stop. It was the beginning of something historic. Wait, before we go any further, I gotta ask, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Colonel Maya Trent had barely touched the gas pedal. No speeding, no swerving, no missed signals. Just a smooth drive home after a week-long security briefing in D.C. Still in full uniform, boots polished, ribbons perfectly aligned on her chest. Then came the flash. Red and blue lights in her rearview mirror lit up the dusk sky like an accusation. She pulled over, shifted the gear into park, and exhaled once. Calm, controlled. She dealt with combat zones calmer than traffic stops. A door slammed behind her. Heavy footsteps approached, fast, purposeful. Then came the voice. "License, registration, and whatever attitude you're carrying tonight." Maya turned her head slowly, her voice neutral. "Good evening, officer. May I ask what I'm being stopped for?" Officer Keller didn't answer. He was already scanning the interior of her vehicle like it held secrets. He leaned in, hand resting near his holster. "You're acting nervous," he said. "Got something in the car I should know about?" Maya kept her voice even. "No, sir. I'm a U.S. Army colonel. I'm heading home from Fort Belvoir. Here's my military ID and driver's license." She handed both forward, steady hands, no sudden moves. Keller squinted at the card, then back at her uniform. "You can cosplay all you want," he muttered. "I've seen fake badges before." Maya's brows lifted slightly, but she stayed composed. "That ID is real, and I've served this country for over 20 years. Step out of the vehicle," he barked, tapping her window. Maya didn't move. "Sir, you haven't given me a reason for this stop." But Keller's hand was already on the door handle. "Step out." Across the street, someone leaned against the hood of a black SUV. Tall, built, watching everything. Shaquille O'Neal narrowed his eyes. He wasn't just observing. He'd been recording since the lights came on, and now he spoke. "Hey, officer," Shaq called out, his voice unmistakably deep. "You sure you want to do that?" Keller froze mid-reach, turned his head just slightly. Maya, still seated, finally looked over. Recognition flickered across her face. Shaq wasn't just a bystander. He was a witness with millions of followers, and he had just hit record. Keller turned back to Maya, jaw clenched. But this time his voice wasn't as confident. "Out, now!" And Shaq, he was already dialing. Colonel Maya Trent had faced down armed insurgents in enemy territory. But what stood outside her car now, badge shining, ego loaded, was a different kind of threat. Officer Keller's grip tightened on her door. "Out of the vehicle! Now!" Maya opened the door slowly, controlled, boots hitting the pavement with the weight of rank. She stood tall, back straight, hands visible. "I don't consent to a search," she said clearly. Keller didn't blink. He moved in fast, too fast, grabbing her arm before she could even finish the sentence. "Refusal is suspicious," he snapped, twisting her wrist behind her back. Her metals clinked softly against her chest as she stiffened. Not from fear, but from instinct. Training. Restraint. Across the street, Shaq stood upright now, phone recording, voice booming. "She's military. You're messing up big, man. Let her go." Keller shot him a glare. "Back off, big guy, or you'll join her in the back seat." Maya didn't speak, but her eyes met Shaq's for a brief second. Focused. Calm. No panic. Just calculation. She knew escalation tactics when she saw them. "I served in Kandahar," she said softly, mostly to herself. "But this is the battlefield they never brief you on." Keller yanked her arm harder. "Anything you say can be used." Shaq had heard enough. He stepped off the curb, voice firm but cold. "You need to stop, officer. You're making a mistake. A big one." Keller pulled out cuffs, snapped them onto Maya's wrist with practiced speed, then shoved her toward the cruiser. "You're under suspicion for impersonating a federal officer," he barked. Shaq's jaw clenched. He ended the video and tapped another contact. This wasn't for social media. This was higher. The phone rang twice. Then, "Pentagon command desk, Sergeant Callahan speaking. Shaq didn't waste a beat. Yeah, we've got a problem, and it needs DCIs. Fast. Behind him, Maya sat stone-faced in the back seat of the patrol car, hands cuffed in front of her decorated chest. Her silence wasn't surrender, it was strategy. Shaq glanced at his phone. Recording still saved, time-stamped, geotagged. And the man he just called? He wasn't a friend. He was an Air Force general. As Keller radioed in a stolen valor suspect, Shaq spoke into the phone. Colonel Maya Trent, U.S. Army, currently being detained on the side of the road for existing. The click of metal cuffs echoed louder than the traffic. Colonel Maya Trent was now seated in the back of a squad car, her service ribbons glinting under the streetlight, her posture straight despite the indignity. Her face didn't flinch, but her silence, it screamed louder than words. Across the street, Shaq flipped his phone camera and hit record again. I want everyone to see this, he muttered. She gave him her military ID. He arrested her anyway. The red light on the screen blinked as he zoomed in. The image was clear. Maya's uniform, her calm expression, and the nameplate on her chest. Trent. Keller strutted toward his cruiser, radio pressed to his shoulder. Subject resisted questioning and refused vehicle search, he said flatly. Maybe impersonating a federal officer. Shaq scoffed. Loud. Resisted? He repeated. She didn't move. A few pedestrians had stopped nearby. A man in scrubs. A woman walking her dog. One of them squinted toward Shaq and whispered, Wait, is that Shaquille O'Neal? The other nodded. Yeah, and he's filming. By now, 3 more phones were out. Recording. Sharing. Shaq turned the camera toward himself, then back to the cruiser. This is Colonel Maya Trent, he said clearly. U.S. Army. Decorated. Arrested for… What? Driving while black in uniform? He tapped a few times, typed quickly, and hit upload. Caption. Colonel. Arrested. For existing. Hashtags. Colonel Trent. Sarcharn. Military while black. Sharsharshan. Shaq and witness. Less than 60 seconds later, the post was live. Inside the patrol car, Maya met the camera lens head-on. Her stare was unshaken, steady. She didn't say a word. She didn't need to. Shaq stood there, watching the view count tick upward. 1,200, 6,400, 22,000. In the time it took Keller to finish his false report, the post had crossed 100,000 views. A ping hit Shaq's phone. Notification, General. Robert McAllister has retweeted your post. Another ping, this time from a journalist. Confirming ID, that's Colonel. Maya Trent, Bronze Star, 2 tours. Shaq's jaw clenched. He looked at Keller, now casually sipping from a coffee thermos like this was any other day. You really don't know who she is, Shaq muttered. 20 minutes in, the video crossed 600K views, and Shaq's phone buzzed again. A new DM. Need details immediately. This just hit the Pentagon. The patrol car door slammed shut like a final verdict. Colonel Maya Trent sat motionless in the back seat, her wrist cuffed in front of her, pressed lightly against the metals that symbolized 22 years of service. Her breathing was slow, but her eyes didn't blink. She stared forward, not out the window, not at Keller, but inward. In her mind, she repeated a mantra she learned in officer school. Stay alert, stay alive, stay silent. Keller slid into the driver's seat, still high off his own power trip. He adjusted the mirror and smirked at her reflection. You know, he said casually, I've seen some pretty convincing Halloween costumes, but you might take the cake. Maya didn't respond. Instead, she whispered under her breath, Badge number 5217, Patrol Unit 38 Alpha. Time of arrest 6:43 p.m. It wasn't for him. It was for herself. A mental record. A soldier's instinct. Keller picked up the radio and spoke with smug confidence. Dispatch. I've got a female in custody. Potential stolen valor case. Suspect is wearing full military dress. Claims to be a colonel. Shaq was 2 car lengths behind in his black SUV. Phone mounted on the dash. Live stream running. Still with her, he said to the 20,000 viewers tuned in. Still in uniform. Still cuffed. Comments flooded in. This is a disgrace. She's clearly military. This dude is digging his own grave. Keep filming, Shaq. Inside the cruiser, Maya shifted her shoulders slightly, letting the seatbelt fall into place. He just messed with the Pentagon, she whispered to herself. Keller raised an eyebrow in the mirror. What was that? Maya turned her eyes to meet his gaze, steady and sharp. Nothing you'll understand until it's too late. Up ahead, the light turned red. Keller tapped the brakes. Then, crackle. The police radio jolted to life, cutting through the silence. Unit 38 Alpha, hold your current position. We've received a direct call from a high-level DC contact. Repeat, do not proceed. Keller froze. He looked at the radio, then at Maya. For the first time that night, his smirk wavered. She leaned forward just enough to make sure he heard her clearly. Told you. At that moment, two blacked-out government SUVs turned the corner. Fast. And Keller? His hands started to shake. The low growl of an engine cut through the tension before the lights even came into view. Two black SUVs slid into frame like a scene from a government thriller. But it wasn't until the unmarked patrol car pulled up next to Keller's cruiser that the real heat arrived. The driver's door flew open. Out stepped Captain Torres, pressed uniform, silver badge gleaming under the streetlights, jaw clenched so tight it looked carved from concrete. He didn't walk. He stormed, straight to Keller's window. Release her, now. Keller blinked. Sir, I had probable cause. She resisted a... Don't finish that sentence, Torres snapped. You had nothing, no violation, no grounds, and no clue who you were putting in cuffs. Torres flung the cruiser door open himself. Maya didn't flinch. She looked up, met his eyes, then stood without help. Torres nodded once. Respectful, professional. I apologize, Colonel Trent, he said. We'll handle this. Keller stepped out, eyes darting between Torres and Shaq, who was now standing just a few feet away, arms folded across his chest, camera still rolling from the SUV dash. This is being taken out of context, Keller insisted. She was being evasive. Torres' head whipped toward him. Evasive, he repeated. She gave you her credentials. You ignored them. You cuffed an active duty officer in uniform without cause. He turned toward Maya. You're free to go, Colonel. Internal Affairs is en route if you'd like to file a complaint. Maya didn't move. Her voice came low, level. Not yet. Torres raised an eyebrow. I want to hear what he says next, she added, looking squarely at Keller. For a moment, Keller was speechless. His badge number, now memorized by millions watching Shaq's live feed, glinted under the glare. Torres pulled him a few steps away, voice low but scathing. The Pentagon's watching. You better pray they don't know your name yet. Keller's face lost color. His mouth opened, then closed again. In the background, Shaq's phone dinged. Another million views. The caption now read, Justice doesn't wear fear. She wears a uniform. Torres' radio buzzed again. Captain, line 2. The Secretary of Defense's office is on hold. The cuffs were off, but the weight of the moment still pressed heavy in the air. Colonel Maya Trent stood beside the cruiser, wrists red, but her spine perfectly straight. The kind of posture that wasn't taught. It was earned. Keller looked everywhere but at her. His swagger from earlier had drained into something closer to panic. Captain Torres kept glancing at his radio, tension crawling up his neck. But Maya? She finally spoke, and every word sliced cleaner than steel. This isn't about me. Her voice was calm, measured, devastating. It's about the people who don't wear this uniform, but go through this daily, who get disrespected, dismissed, or worse, without a camera rolling or a title behind their name. The onlookers had gone quiet. Even Shaq lowered his phone slightly, letting her words hit. She took one step toward Keller, locking eyes. You thought you pulled over a nobody. You thought you could intimidate me. But I promise you, Officer Keller, her tone sharpened, I'll see you again, just not here. You'll be facing the kind of courtroom where badges don't protect you. Keller opened his mouth, but Torres shut it down with a single glance. Shaq walked up beside Maya, phone now tucked away. They're scrambling, Torres muttered, voice low. DC's heating up faster than they can contain it. Shaq didn't blink. Good. I'm not done either. He nodded toward Maya, a silent show of solidarity. She gave him the smallest nod back, grateful but focused. Without breaking stride, Maya reached into her pocket, pulled out a secure military phone, and stepped a few paces away. She dialed. The line picked up instantly. Colonel Trent, she said crisply, get me the Pentagon's Office of Legal Affairs. Now. Even Shaq raised an eyebrow. He wasn't expecting her to move this fast. Torres stood back, watching everything unfold like a man who knew this night would be on every news channel by morning. The crowd had grown. Journalists were arriving. Microphones extended. Lights blinked. But Maya wasn't done. She turned her back on the noise and walked toward the black SUV that brought her here. Before stepping in, she looked once more at Keller, now pale, his hands fidgeting near his belt like they needed something to hold on to. The Pentagon line clicked. Then a voice answered, "Colonel Trent, we've been expecting your call." By the time the sun rose over Washington, D.C., the Pentagon had already moved. Colonel Maya Trent's formal incident report, precise, scathing, and time-stamped, hit the Defense Department's inbox at 4:12 a.m. It wasn't just any complaint. It was a digital blueprint of misconduct, backed by video, radio logs, and real-time witness accounts. At 7:36 a.m., the Joint Chiefs were briefed. At 9:02 a.m., Internal Affairs reached out to the local precinct. The message was clear. "We're watching." Back at the station, Officer Keller sat in stunned silence as a superior dropped a manila folder in front of him. "You've been temporarily reassigned. Effective immediately." Keller's voice cracked. "Reassigned? I thought, you're lucky it's not suspension," the captain cut in. "Yet." Meanwhile, across town, Maya sat at her kitchen table in pressed civilian attire, laptop open, phone buzzing nonstop. Her inbox had exploded. Lawyers, military advocates, even civil rights organizations offering support. Then came the email with the Pentagon seal. "You are requested to testify before the Military Oversight Board. Travel arrangements enclosed." She didn't hesitate. She clicked confirm. Across the country, in his downtown LA condo, Shaq was just finishing a protein shake when his phone buzzed again. Another request. This one from a DoD media relations officer. "We need the raw footage. Full resolution, no edits." He grinned, replying with a thumbs-up emoji in the link. "Footage is clean," he added. She didn't flinch once. Later that night, as news anchors argued over constitutional rights and law enforcement protocols, the real battle was happening online. Shaq's post, now stitched into TikToks, reposted by veterans and quoted by civil rights leaders, crossed 2.4 million views. The caption had been updated. "This isn't a clip. It's a wake-up call." Underneath, the top comment read, "If she wasn't in uniform, would anyone have believed her?" In Maya's living room, she closed her laptop, took a breath, and stood. She wasn't done. Her phone lit up again, this time a private message from a former Pentagon investigator. "Colonel, you're not the only one with a story. Let's talk." By mid-morning, the internet wasn't just watching. It was on fire. Colonel Trent had rocketed to the #1 trend globally, eclipsing celebrity gossip, political feuds, and even a breaking story about Wall Street fraud. Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram were flooded with one image. Maya Trent in uniform, hands cuffed, eyes locked on the camera like a soldier refusing to blink. The caption under most posts was simple. "She fought for this country, and this is how she's treated." But things escalated fast. Internet sleuths had questions and receipts. It didn't take long for users to dig into Officer Keller's history. Screenshots of local reports, archived Facebook posts, and blurred-out complaint filings began to surface. 2 prior racial profiling complaints, both allegedly resolved internally, both now trending under hashtag #KellerFiles. A resurfaced forum post even quoted a veteran officer, anonymously saying, "We all knew Keller was a problem waiting to happen." At noon, Shaq appeared on a major network for a live interview. The anchor leaned in, serious. "You witnessed it firsthand. What did you see?" Shaq didn't flinch. "I saw a decorated Army colonel stay calm. I saw a cop escalate. I saw disrespect that would have ended differently if she wasn't in uniform, or if I wasn't recording." The clip was reposted within minutes. Comment sections turned into war zones, one side defending Maya, the other scrambling to justify Keller's actions. But the numbers didn't lie. Support for Maya flooded in from politicians, veterans, civil rights groups, even celebrities. One Navy SEAL posted a photo with her from a past deployment, captioned, "She doesn't wear medals, she earns them. You don't question Maya Trent, you salute her." Meanwhile, the local police department's PR team scrambled. An internal memo leaked to Reddit revealed frantic email threads. "Do we issue a statement? Who approved Keller's last review? We need to lock down the department's socials now." But they were already too late. Keller, feeling the pressure, tried to quietly delete his Facebook and Twitter accounts. Wrong move. Screenshots flooded back online within minutes. Posts where he mocked protesters, liked pages with extremist rhetoric, and worst, an old comment thread joking about spotting stolen valor on site. That afternoon, Maya received a call from a journalist at the New York Times. Colonel Trent, we'd like to feature your story on the front page, and we have something new on Keller you need to see. By sunrise the next day, the police precinct looked less like a place of authority and more like ground zero for a public reckoning. Hundreds had gathered outside the station, holding signs that read, "Justice for Colonel Trent. Uniform or not, we deserve respect. Fire Keller now." What began as an online firestorm had spilled into the streets. Veterans marched alongside high school students. Parents brought their children. Former officers, some in dress blues, stood in silence, their presence louder than chants. Inside the mayor's office, the pressure boiled over. Mayor Cecilia Grant stared at the wall of TV monitors in her press room. Every channel played the same clip. Keller cuffing Maya, Shaq filming. The moment Keller sneered, "You can cosplay all you want." She exhaled, then reached for her secure line. "Get me Colonel Maya Trent." Half an hour later, Maya picked up the call at her kitchen table, still in civilian clothes but wearing the same composure as her uniform. "Colonel Trent," the mayor began, voice tight, "I'm calling to offer my full apology on behalf of this city." There was a pause. "We failed you," she continued, "and now we're facing national shame because of it. What can we do to make this right?" Maya's voice didn't shake. "You can start by ensuring people like me are treated with respect, even when we're not in uniform. That's the real test." The mayor nodded, though Maya couldn't see it. "Understood. I'm authorizing a full independent investigation and reviewing every complaint Keller has ever had." Maya gave a short, respectful reply. "Then it's a start." Meanwhile, at the precinct, Keller was nowhere to be seen. Word had spread that he'd been placed on administrative leave, but the crowd outside wasn't satisfied. They didn't want suspension. They wanted consequences. Shaq arrived on site later that afternoon, unannounced, walking through the crowd like a giant among truth seekers. He didn't give a speech. He didn't need to. Just a raised fist and one line to the nearest news camera. "This isn't just about her. It's about all of us." Inside her home, Maya sat with her laptop closed, staring at the window. Then her phone lit up. Unknown caller, untraceable number, marked classified. She answered. A voice spoke crisply on the other end. "Colonel Trent, this is the Department of Defense. We need to brief you. In person." Colonel Maya Trent walked through the Pentagon's East Wing with a calm intensity that turned heads. Her boots echoed down the marble floor, flanked by 2 military escorts. But she wasn't walking in as someone accused. She was walking in as someone who'd sparked a reckoning. And the room she was about to enter, they knew it. The secure conference room was already filled when she arrived. A 4-star general nodded her in. Across the table sat officials from the Department of Justice, the Inspector General's office, and the Pentagon's Office of Legal Affairs. A large screen on the wall displayed a secure video call where Shaq appeared in a neatly lit frame, headphones on, expression focused. "Colonel Trent," said the general counsel, a tall woman with steel gray hair and sharp eyes. "Thank you for coming. This is being recorded for formal inquiry. Please begin when ready." Maya didn't need notes. She recounted every detail, from the moment the lights flashed behind her vehicle to the second the cuffs clicked shut. She spoke not with anger, but clarity, precision, the kind of truth that didn't waver under pressure. Then it was Shaq's turn. "I filmed everything," he said. She was calm. Keller wasn't. And I've seen enough situations like this to know what could have happened if there weren't cameras or uniforms involved. No one interrupted him. When he finished, the general counsel leaned forward. "We've reviewed the footage. Your statements align with initial investigations. And, Colonel," she paused, "you didn't just respond with dignity. You exposed something much deeper." She turned to the group. "We're not letting this slide." A hush fell. Then came the official declaration. A federal civil rights investigation had been opened. It wasn't just local anymore. Keller's actions had triggered something national, and federal agents were now reviewing his entire career. Outside the room, phones were buzzing. The police department had just received notice. Officer Keller was placed on immediate leave, pending federal inquiry. Back in the conference room, Maya remained still. But beneath her composed exterior, her pulse ticked faster, not from fear, but from impact. Something was happening, something real. Shaq on the screen gave a single nod. Told you we weren't done. As Maya exited the room, her escort whispered, they're requesting you to address Congress next week. Civilian rights hearing. Prime time. Officer Keller finally spoke, but the country wasn't listening. A hastily scheduled interview aired on a local affiliate, where Keller, dressed in plain clothes, sat stiffly beside his lawyer. His voice cracked slightly as he leaned into the mic. This was never about race, he said. It was a misunderstanding. I believed I was following procedure. The host tilted her head. Even after she presented her military ID? Keller fumbled. Well, yes, but you have to understand. People lie about that all the time. The clip didn't even finish before Twitter exploded. Miscommunication? She was in full uniform. You believed your ego, that's all. Too late to delete now. Maya didn't need a press team. She didn't book a counter interview. She simply sat at her dining table, facing her phone camera, and pressed record. No script, no edits, just truth. Respect doesn't come from fear, she said softly. It comes from truth. And truth has no badge, no rank. It's just what's right. The video was 58 seconds long. It racked up 8 million views in 24 hours. Shaq reposted it with one line. That's why I filmed it, so no one could twist it. Within hours, the fallout accelerated. Screenshots of Keller's earlier disciplinary records were leaked. More profiling claims, informal warnings, and 2 internal reviews marked inconclusive. But this time, the conclusion came fast. The police department announced Keller's badge had been officially suspended. His service weapon was surrendered. His pending review, now under DOJ oversight. Outside the precinct, the protests continued, but now they were celebratory. Community leaders gave speeches. Local schools invited Maya to speak. News vans broadcasted live segments titled, The Colonel Who Changed Everything. In D.C., a closed-door Pentagon ceremony was held under full military protocol. Maya stood in full-dress blues, her decorations freshly polished. The Secretary of Defense handed her a velvet box, opened it, and announced, for upholding the values of dignity, justice, and unwavering composure in the face of injustice, Colonel Maya Trent is hereby awarded the Public Integrity Medal. As the cameras flashed, Maya offered a single salute, sharp, clean, unshaken. Moments later, a White House aide approached quietly, slipping her a sealed envelope. Ma'am, he said, the president would like a word. The double doors swung open, and silence swept through the middle school auditorium. Rows of students in matching navy polos and khakis sat upright, eyes wide. Then, like they'd practiced it all morning, every girl in the front row stood and saluted. Colonel Maya Trent paused just inside the threshold, touched, not by the formality, but by what it meant. Respect, recognition, change. 1 month had passed since the incident that shook the country. Since then, she'd stood before Congress, spoken at military panels, met with civil rights leaders, and even had a closed-door meeting with the president. But this, a school gym filled with young girls who looked like her, who needed to see her, this was the moment that hit different. Shaquille O'Neal leaned quietly against the back wall, dressed down in jeans and a hoodie, cap low. No cameras, just watching. Maya walked onto the stage. No podium. Just her, standing tall in her uniform, bronze stars gleaming under the gym lights. Discipline isn't just about following rules, she began. It's about knowing who you are when rules get broken around you. She didn't mention Keller. She didn't have to. Every kid in that room had seen the clips, the arrest, the fallout. She paused, eyes scanning the sea of young faces. Dignity, she continued, is choosing not to lose yourself in someone else's ignorance. Near the front, a girl raised her hand hesitantly. Colonel Trent, weren't you scared that day? The room held its breath. Maya smiled gently, crouching down to eye level. I was tired, she said. Not scared. There's a difference. Tired of proving my worth to people who should have already known. Tired of being silent just to stay safe. But fear? Number. That left me a long time ago. The girl blinked, her shoulders lifting just slightly, as if a weight had shifted. A beat of silence followed. Then applause. Then more. Shaq clapped too, slow but strong, his eyes misty. He'd been in front of thousands before, but watching Maya in this moment, different kind of spotlight. Outside the school, a news van waited, but Maya didn't stop for interviews. She walked the halls, shook hands, smiled for selfies, and left the students with one last message. She turned back toward the crowd, voice steady. This uniform doesn't make me powerful. She paused, letting it land. Knowing my worth does. Standing ovation. As she stepped into the sunlight, her phone vibrated. New voicemail. From the White House. Again.